Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor. Welcome to the March 12th, 2025 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. I'm calling this meeting to order. We continue to meet here in our temporary home at the Finger Lakes Regional Campus of SUNY Empire State University, 680 Westfall Road, still in Brighton, while we continue a major renovation project at Brighton Town Hall, which will continue at least well into 2026 before completion, driven by significant changes, replacement of our heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system, our HVAC unit. But the Brighton Memorial Library, the Brighton Police Department, the Brighton Courts are still at the old traditional town hall, 2300 Elmwood Avenue. The sewer and highway departments are still at 1941 Elmwood Avenue, and our parks and recreation departments remain at the former Brookside School on Winton Road. We will begin the open forum portion of our meeting in just a minute. The open forum is the portion of the meeting where members of the public have the opportunity to share their comments, their opinions with the town board. I will give instructions on the open forum when we get to that point on the agenda. I will note, though, that if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll have to log into Zoom in order to speak during the open forum tonight, and there are detailed instructions for doing so on the town's webpage, which is www.townofbrighton.org. As we have done for many, many years, we make our town board meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community. Thank you to our ASL interpreters. We really appreciate the work you do at every meeting, making us accessible to the broad community. As a reminder, the agenda for tonight's meeting is on the webpage, again, www.townofbrighton.org. For people here in the room, it's on the table right outside the door, along with all of the materials that we review in making our decisions tonight. I would ask that we all rise or rise in spirit if you're not able to do so. And we'll start the meeting with a pledge. Councilmember Warner, if you would lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have no proclamations tonight. At our next meeting, we will be issuing a proclamation recognizing March as Women's History Month. But last night, the town held a Women's History Month event right here in this room. It featured a roundtable discussion with women who have really made a difference in the greater Rochester community in many significant ways. Nanette Nakon from Ameriprise Financial, Deborah Hughes, the executive director from the Susan B. Anthony House, and Natasha McDonald from the Nixon Peabody Law Firm. That roundtable was moderated by our Chief Diversity Officer, Miriam Moore. And we also heard from former town supervisor Sandy Frankel. Sandy was the first woman to serve as Brighton Town Supervisor. I thought all of their insights really were powerful, and I want to thank Miriam Moore for organizing what was a great event with a full house here in the room. Thank you also to the volunteer members of our IDEA Board, our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board, for the time and energy you spend, not only in many cases attending last night, helping to organize these events, and supporting inclusion, diversity, and equity within the town. Our next Tuesday town talk will be next Tuesday night, March 18th, 5:30, here in this same room. We will be addressing a wide range of issues affecting the LGBTQ+ community. And for those of you that may have seen the video of what I consider to be absolutely uncalled for incivility directed by the chair of a congressional committee against Representative Sarah McBride from Delaware yesterday and were disturbed by that as I was, I'm certain that this roundtable discussion will be of interest to you. Before we get to the open forum, I do want to briefly discuss the ongoing reassessment here in Brighton. Most homeowners in Brighton have now received their assessment notice advising them of a very preliminary new assessed value for their homes. I want to just take a minute to place those notices and the whole process really into context and make sure that our residents, our homeowners, know what their options are if they disagree with this new preliminary assessment. The town of Brighton conducted our last town-wide reassessment in 2018. Since 2018, real estate prices, particularly residential real estate prices throughout the Rochester area, but particularly in Brighton, have risen dramatically. We know that Brighton is a very attractive destination for people looking to move to the Rochester area. The fair market value of the average home in Brighton has approximately doubled during that time. I think there's probably a number of reasons for this. First, the pandemic. The pandemic made it easier to work remotely, and people returned to Rochester and to Brighton in many cases from the large East Coast cities and were able to work here remotely. I talked to someone the day before yesterday who had been working in Washington, D.C. for a number of years. At the start of the pandemic, moved back. She had family here. She had lived here before and moved back here and has continued to work remotely from Brighton in Washington, D.C. She is certainly not unique in having done that. Those of you, or certainly Robin, who is in the real estate business, know there has, over this time, been a very limited supply of homes available, again, throughout the Rochester area, but particularly here in Brighton. So we have limited supply and very strong demand, which is going to cause prices, home prices in this case, to rise. And when prices rise for years significantly, as they have, assessed valuations can't keep up. Now, the goal of a town-wide reassessment is to value all properties in town, both residential and commercial, at 100% of their fair market value. And of course, fair market value, a brief definition, is a price that a willing buyer is willing to pay a willing seller, an arm's length transaction. By trying to assess all properties at 100% of their fair market value, the goal is fairness. The goal is that taxpayers pay only their fair share, their proportionate fair share of property taxes on their property. Now, one really important point I want to make is that even though the assessed value of nearly every home, maybe every home in the town of Brighton has risen, that does not mean that your town, school, or county taxes will rise by the same amount, or for that matter, even rise at all. Although your assessed value has probably risen dramatically, the tax rate after assessment is completed will fall dramatically. Now, let me give an example of that, and this is from data from Monroe County. In 2024, under the old assessments, the town tax rate was about $5.66 per $1,000 of home value per year. Now, under the new assessment, where assessed values will rise dramatically to get to 100% of fair value. If the tax levy were to stay the same, and that's a big assumption, I understand. If the tax levy, though, for 2025 for a taxing jurisdiction, whether it's the town, in this case the town, stays the same, the new tax rate would be $3.09 per thousand of home value, just more than half of the old rate. And in that case, your taxes would rise only very slightly. So again, let me repeat those numbers. From $5.66 per thousand to $3.09 per thousand. So as your home value goes up, your home assessed value goes up to 100% of its fair market value, your tax rate will go down. Now, in the fall of this year, the town will be completing its budget process, as we do every year, and we will be setting the tax levy and the actual tax rate. The school districts, whichever school district you live in, is in the process of doing that now. And of course, the school budget vote will be later in the spring. But, so there's a real, the one goes up, the assessed value goes up, but the rate comes down. Now, I understand that many residents feel that these new assessments overvalue their home, and that as a result, they'll be paying more than their fair share of taxes. And we want to make sure that everyone has the right to appeal this assessment. And in fact, homeowners will have 3 opportunities to appeal, to challenge the assessed valuation as shown in the tentative assessment that came out. The first appeal is through the so-called informal review process, and that's what's going on now. Exactly as it sounds, it's an opportunity for a homeowner to have a brief one-on-one meeting with a member of the assessor's team to present evidence as to why your home should be assessed at a lower price than this preliminary assessment shows it as being assessed. What kind of evidence are we talking about? Well, certainly one is recent sales prices for comparable homes. You may have noticed on your way in, there are notebooks down here. There are notebooks up on the second floor here in Town Hall. Those notebooks are indexed. Those are recent sale prices dating back to 2021. The notebooks are indexed by home type. So if you live in a colonial, you're going to want to look at other colonials. If you live in a ranch, look at other ranches. And then they're cross-referenced by street. There's lots of information in there. The sale price itself, the number of bedrooms, the square feet, that sort of information. All of that information is also available online. If you go to the assessor's webpage, you'll see a link that's entitled Challenging Your Assessment. If you click on that link and go to the bottom of the page, you'll see another link for Brighton sales data, and click on that link and you'll have all the data that's in those notebooks that are here. But comparable sale prices aren't the only evidence you might choose to submit. Photos of your house, photos interior or exterior. Your kitchen may need remodeling, bathrooms may need remodeling. Because none of us are required to let the assessor in the house to look at the condition of the home, the assessor may not know that. So those are things that can factor into the assessor's decision. The outside of the home, your siding may not be in great shape. Whatever condition you may see, there may be conditions in the immediate neighborhood that are relevant to the assessor's decision. You can bring all that in. You can even drop it off right here. There's a box outside. You don't have to come in and meet. You can submit and the assessor will still review it and make that decision. So that's really the first process, is this informal review. What's the timeline for that? You must submit not later than March 21st if you want an informal review. But I would encourage you to do it quickly, as you might imagine. Appointments are going pretty quickly. The easiest way to do it is online. That way you've got the full range of dates that are available right there, and you can click on one that works best for you. But you can also make an appointment by dialing 784-5215. I will say that the office is backed up on phone calls. They're returning them in the order received. So I would really encourage you to do it online. Again, on the assessor's page, that's www.townofbrighton.org/assessor. Again, scroll down. You'll see contesting your assessment. Click on that. Scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on the Brighton sales data. You can also come in person and sign up for one of those informal review sessions. So that's the first process, the informal review. The second step is the grievance process. And a grievance is something you can do every year. That's something you can do every year between May 1st and what's called the grievance date, late in the month of May. This year, it's May 27th. So if you want to go through what is a more formal grievance process, you can file a formal grievance starting on May 1st. If you like the result, if you like what a change that the assessor made during your informal review, you're good. You don't have to do anything more. But if you still want to challenge it, appeal it, you can file a grievance starting May 1st through 8 p.m. on May 27th. Those grievances are heard by the town's Board of Assessment Review. That's a volunteer board of people with knowledge in the real estate business. So that's your second appeal opportunity, from May 1st through May 27th. And finally, if you do file a grievance, but still are not happy with the result, you can file for what is really a more judicial review of your assessment, what's known as Small Claims Assessment Review, or SCAR. And that's your third appeal. I know that's a lot of material to process. I encourage you to go to the assessor's webpage, again, www.townofbrighton.org/assessor. There's lots of information right there. There's also links to the state Office of Real Property Services, which gives information, general information about property value assessment, how a reassessment works. So there's a lot of information that I would encourage anybody that really wants to drill down into this as you appeal the determination on your home value. Go to that webpage, check out some of those links. We'll now move on to the open forum. Again, we hold an open forum at the beginning of every town board meeting. The open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's actually on our agenda tonight. If you would like to speak during the open forum and you're here in person, please raise your hand. When I call on you, please come up to the podium to speak. If you're participating in the meeting remotely, again, as I mentioned a moment ago, you're going to have to log on to Zoom. Zoom allows us to be interactive. And of course, there are detailed instructions for doing that on the town's webpage, but most of us have been Zooming for years now. But after you're admitted to the Zoom meeting by the host, if you do want to speak from Zoom, use the Zoom raised hand function. I do ask all speakers during the open forum, whether you're in person or remote, to please state your name and address before speaking. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. I will give you a 30-second warning before your time expires. We may not be able to answer any questions you have tonight, particularly if your question relates to a matter that's not on the agenda this evening. But our goal at every town board meeting is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to listen to your words. So please direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or to other speakers. Please refrain from personal attacks and from outbursts of any kind, including applause or boos or other similar disruption during the open forum. Out of respect for the speaker, out of respect for the time of everybody here to speak tonight. Also, out of respect for others in the room who may not be able to see, we do not allow signs to be displayed during town board meetings, including during the open forum. I'll warn people who don't follow these rules. Repeated failure to follow these rules may result in your speaking privileges being ended early, being directed to leave the room, leave the meeting early, or the early termination of the open forum. So with that, I did see a hand raised earlier. Is there anyone that would like to address the board during the open forum? Please come on up. Were you? I did. Sure. No, come on up. You had your hand up. Thank you.
I'm a little warm at times. See somebody? I appreciate
And if you would,
your
please
explanation.
state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I thought you knew. Jason Zoglin. I live at 311 Rhinecliff Drive here in Brighton. I think we moved in '98. So I've owned one house for a long time. And I've owned a few other houses, one in Brighton and a few mostly over by the College Town area. So I'm familiar with the process both in Rochester and here in Brighton. And just to be clear about my own philosophy is, if they're close, I say thank you very much and don't waste anybody's time challenging it. It's not my goal. You know, my only goal isn't to, pay less taxes. It's that it be accurate. And that's the honest truth. At the city, I've often said, hey, there was a time when I had 7 or 8 houses. I'd go in, I'd say, look, 4 of them I think you're spot on. These ones I think you're not. And it usually worked out pretty well, For me, I thought it was fair. So with that said, and your explanation was great. Since friends and neighbors know that I've done a few of them, but I'm not a realtor. I claim no expertise, but boy, did I get a lot of texts last night. But one thing I try to explain, not as eloquently as you just did, but is that if you sold your house tomorrow, that's what they're trying to get. And a lot of people some people I've talked to have the expectation that the tax assessment is lower than that, should be lower than what you could sell for, and that's just not what a full value assessment is, right? Okay, so I'm helping you on that. Trying to educate. Hopefully I'm doing it correctly. So I already have my appointment. My valuation went up over 150%. My taxes went way up. And I'll talk, you gave the opportunity. I made my appointment, no problem online. My concern, and maybe mostly for the town and the people that have to review all these, is I live in Bel Air. I'm familiar. I have lots of friends in Roselawn, similar area. And I've been in a lot of these houses. I work on houses. Is something funny happened? Not just the extreme increase. We all, anybody who didn't, if you heard the Beatles broke up, you knew that house values in Brighton went way up. I expected mine to be high. They did break up, Chris. I'm sorry. but
That's the first time I've heard that analogy. I'll remember that.
But I have several friends. It's an interesting thing because I have some in my neighborhood, another neighborhood, where one neighbor's happy and one's not. But some of them, I know about the houses. I can't show you because if the guy who was assessed way less than he thought he would be finds out that Jason went in and compared to him, I'm going to be in trouble. But I don't know. Can they re-raise somebody's assessment?
No.
Okay.
No, if you
Then
come
I'm
in
not
and
in trouble.
appeal,
Okay.
you-
Then I'm going to
it
blow in
will
all my
not be
neighbors.
increased.
No. I've looked at houses that I promise you, I could show you, I could take Robin and she would know as a realtor. I know of cases where a house that's easily $100,000 more than their neighbor. And I say this from some level of expertise. I know the square footage. I've been in and out of these houses, beautiful homes. And they were assessed well less than a neighbor. I promise you, I know more than one instance like this. So I'm just wondering, I don't know how it works. It's complicated. It's a difficult job. I mean, but it seems like something was amiss. And it's not just one instance I'm talking about. So many neighbors are scratching their head, some of them happily, and some of them not. But juxtaposed right next to each other, I know several cases where it's dramatic. And I promise you,
30 seconds.
Thank you. If I showed you, you'd say, boy, something's wrong. So, as they have to, as you said, it's getting busy with the informal meetings. I wonder if it's probably a hard sell, but if it's worth looking at the whole thing again. I think you're going to find that somewhere along the line, there was something happened. I don't know if it's a line of code in a computer program, but something is funny. And that's all. I just wanted to say that. I say that with the best of intentions to help the town with the process, but something's amiss. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board tonight? Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer Muniak, 35 Chalet Circle in Brighton. Same issue, thank you, sir. Similar type of concerns. I bought my place, I've been in Brighton for over 11 years now, but bought my current home in 2018, 10,000 above the assessed value, which was, I'll give you numbers because I think those are powerful. My house is assessed at 375.6. I bought it at 385 in 2019. It was just reassessed at 910,000. That's 2.5 times the value, the prior assessment. And my taxes will, both town, school, and county, will go from 15.9, which was fair. I mean, I'm a good contributor to your tax base, now to 21,000, so up 5,000. My whole street was hit pretty hard. And again, I have to wonder if something's amiss. I believe in what you're saying. I believe all of the what the process is, but I have to wonder personally how this process was undertaken. Why weren't people coming to our doors and looking at our neighborhoods? I don't think they knew my neighborhood very well or looked at my house. Are these local folks? What was the process? And I know a lot of folks did have a doubling of their assessed price, but then their taxes went down or were roughly stable. Why am I paying $5,000 more for my house, and why is it considered to be almost $1 million? I would sell it in 2 seconds if I thought I could get $910,000 for it. But Zillow also says $575, and I know a lot of banks, when they're used to going through these processes again, will use Zillow. So $575 versus $910,000. I have trouble rationalizing that in my own mind. I made an appointment.
Good.
I'm willing to go through the process, but come on, it really begs the question of, is this a transparent process? What was the algorithm used? So I'm just scratching my head with this one, and it pains me that I have to fight to retain my hard-earned money. Thank you.
Thank you. And obviously, I don't know. I don't know your home and the opportunity, coming in to do the. I know your street certainly, and I'm glad you're taking the opportunity to come in for that informal review. There's over 12,000 properties in the town of Brighton. And there's no doubt when you're looking at that many, and when you're looking at them, not in the way that a bank appraiser, for example, would look at it. The bank appraiser would come in and be able to do a much more thorough review including the inside of your home, which we can't. We do have, staff drove up and down the streets of Brighton. They have data on the homes from the, county real property system. But with 12,000 properties, that's why we want to give everybody the opportunity to come in, and I know they'll take what you bring to them seriously. And if a reduction is warranted, do so. I will say that Zillow is really not a reliable source, and Robin, again, chime in if you have any further thoughts. I don't know that banks make mortgage loans based on Zillow valuations. That's why they have appraisers. That come out.
Yes.
Yeah. Zillow is a nice sort of back of the envelope tool, but it's certainly not something that either a bank appraiser would rely on, or frankly that a real property municipal assessor can rely on. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Mr. Tetenoff, come on up.
Hi. I want to share that I think that, Bill, you suffer from something that I've recently heard of described as toxic positivity. The town of Brighton is awesome. We have no problems. And if there's a problem, I don't have it, so it doesn't exist to me. That is just, I don't know, it's putting your head in the clouds and denying reality. It's just incredible that you sing the praises of the town of Brighton as if there are no challenges and no opportunities for improvement in the town of Brighton. And there are plenty, including the school district. There are kids that have had so many problems in the school district of Brighton. They're bused to surrounding towns because the staff in the BSD were so horrible to these kids. It's disgusting how some of these BCSD employees treat children. How many pedophiles have been prosecuted?
Mr. Tetenoff, move on, please. Move on, please. I don't think it's appropriate for you to be making statements about pedophiles at the Brighton Central School District. Go on, please. Really?
My kid was his favorite teacher was a pedophile in the school district. So please don't interrupt my 3 minutes that you're going to give me. That's just not appropriate. Give me my 3 minutes, and if you can't, like in the past, you've tried to cover your face to hide your anger and your disapproval and your disgust for people speaking. Today, you seem to be able to control this inner rage that you display so often. So the town of Brighton has many problems. I encourage people to fight for their kids and fight this reach around that Bill seems to want to get into your pocket. There's a guy on YouTube, Redress Now. He's got some videos demonstrating how these town officials will not follow the law and will try all kinds of dirty tricks to illegally increase your assessment. So you need to, I encourage people to be prepared, to research comparables, and to challenge the town official that says, oh, these were the 3 comparables that we found, and ask them why, how are these comparable to my house? That house has a different number of bedrooms. That's not comparable. It was a different style of house. Be overly prepared so that you have the information to fight for yourself I think they give you 10 minutes or 15 minutes, something ridiculous. And the town does not need to do this. There's a town in Buffalo, I think it's Depew, that hasn't reassessed since the mid-'80s. and it's a New York State law, but it doesn't need to be followed apparently by some towns.
Mr. Tetenoff,
What's that?
30 seconds, please.
And try to get these people to share why they think that this house is comparable compared to your house. And this is just a way to dig deeper and deeper into your pocket. The town has raised taxes so much, it's like you're renting property from the town. It's supposed to be your property, not the town's property, for you to rent. It's just disgusting. So check out the Redress Now YouTube channel. He also does Will Fight for People. He's based out of Buffalo, but he has fought for people in Rochester, in the Rochester City reassessment recently.
Time, Mr. Tetenoff. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? I don't see anybody here in the room. I also don't see anybody on Zoom with their hand raised. If there is no one else for the open forum, Chris, can I have a motion then to
Yes.
approve the agenda?
Bill, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second?
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman,
Aye.
Supervisor Malin.
Aye. We have no public hearings tonight, but we do have two items of communication. The first is from Mr. Ted Aresti, the Treasurer and Fire District Director, member of the directors of the Brighton Fire District. He has attached with his letter a copy of the 2024 financial statements from the Brighton Fire District, and we appreciate that. We obviously are grateful for the service that our Brighton firefighters and you know, not just the Brighton firefighters, the western part of Brighton, of course, the Henrietta Fire District, the Henrietta Fire Department serves us. But thank you for submitting those financial statements. The other is from our police chief, Chief Cathaldi. Not nearly as happy news. If you know the members of the Brighton Police Department, you absolutely are going to know Officer Jim De Niro. Officer De Niro, there is no friendlier, warmer, more outgoing person in the department. Whether you see him driving around, he'll wave. You see him at the farmer's market, wherever. He is exactly the community policing kind of officer that we would all aspire to have on our forces. Officer De Niro is going to be retiring, and we hate to see him go. Jose, I hope we're able to get Officer De Niro to come in at our next meeting and hear from the community and hear from all of us how much we've appreciated his service. If that doesn't work, maybe at a future meeting, because we're going to be sorry to see him go. Very, very sorry to see Jim De Niro go. I know it's not a surprise. He's been talking about it for some time, and I really wish him all the very best. But I know we'd all love to be able to wish him the best in person.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. So can I have a motion to receive and file those communications, please?
I move that we receive and file the communications.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman,
Aye.
Supervisor Malin.
Aye. Committee reports, community services. Robin.
Thank you, Bill. The Community Services Committee has not met in the intervening timeframe since our last town board meeting. I do, however, have a few quick updates from our Parks and Recreation Department heads. From our Parks Department, Parks crews are working on various projects and have taken advantage of the decent weather to perform some extensive park cleanups. While the Parks Department has been in the process of filling a vacancy for one full-time position, due to the success of the search process and the volume of workload anticipated within the department, there is a recommendation from the town board to pursue the hiring of 2 full-time permanent park staff members. This second position will fill a huge void in the department's ability to provide valuable service for the community, given the increased responsibilities that have been assumed by the Parks Department in the expansion of our park acreage and facilities. Until the vacant position is filled in the next month or so, however, the Parks Department is operating at an extremely short-staffed capacity. Then from our Recreation Department, Brighton Winter Spring registration is ongoing for all programs. Check out all of the outstanding activities and events that will keep you busy in 2025. For full details, you can find us online at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. And believe it or not, it's almost time for Brighton Recreation Playground Camp registration. Details for our summer playground camp programs will be posted online, and resident registration will begin next Tuesday, March 18th at 9 a.m. Playground camp will take place at the following locations: preschool camp at BCSD Admin Building for 3 to 5-year-old children. Council Rock Primary School will be the location for children entering K through 2. French Road Elementary School for children entering first through 5th grade, and 12 Corners Middle School for children entering 5th through 8th grade. If you have any questions about camp registration or setting up your account, please call the Recreation Office at 585-784-5260, extension 0. We also highly suggest ensuring your account information, including your child's information, is current prior to the start of registration. We have a return in March to Springo. Come hang out with the family for a fun night of celebrating the arrival of spring and St. Patrick's Day with bingo, or as we like to call it here in Brighton, Springo. We will serve fresh popcorn, and the evening will feature the opportunity to win prizes. We'll mix up the games to keep it interesting, and we will host a photo station with themed props too. Registration is required as space is limited. There is a $10 fee for family. The activities will take place at the Brookside Recreation Center, 1666 Winton Road South, on Friday, March 14th. 6 to 7:30 p.m. We want to remind the community that the 3rd annual Brickyard Trail Art Exhibition, an art exhibition that celebrates the beauty of the Brickyard Trail in the Sander Frankel Nature Park, is ongoing during weekends in the month of March. This event is co-sponsored by the town of Brighton in cooperation with the Friends of the Brickyard Trail at the historic Buckland Farmhouse, 1341 Westfall Road. The remaining Saturdays and Sundays in March are March 15th through 16th and 22nd through 23rd. The event is open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And as Bill mentioned, our series of Tuesday Town Talks will continue on Tuesdays during the month of March. On Tuesday, March 18th, we will be exploring LGBTQIA+, truth versus tolerance, and on March 25th, disabilities, unsilencing the D. These take place at 5:30 p.m. At Brighton Town Hall's temporary location at SUNY Empire State, 680 Westfall Road.
Actually, I think that the last one is going to be across the street at Carmen Clark Lodge in the town park.
Brighton Town Park. Thank you, Bill. And then last, but certainly not least, we'd like to announce the return of Hoops with Heroes. So join us for the town's second Hoops with Heroes basketball tournament. This is an unforgettable event where the court becomes a playground for unity and fun. This special occasion invites children and families to lace up their sneakers and join our local police officers for an evening filled with basketball excitement. Registration, again, is required as space is limited. The games will take place at the Brookside Community Center, 1666 Winton Road South, on Friday, March 21st, 6 to 7:30 p.m. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Wednesday, March 19th at 10 a.m. or immediately following our Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting at the Brighton Recreation Center Multipurpose Room. Please do access the Recreation Department through the Winton Road entrance. And as always, members of the public are invited and encouraged to attend.
Thank you, Robin. Nate, Finance?
Thanks, Bill. The Finance and Administrative Services Committee last met on March 5th. Most of what we talked about is on tonight's agenda, but I will say we had a guest speaker who did a really great presentation discussing town bond issues. And one of those items, and one of those items that we're going to vote on is on tonight's agenda, and that item is the issuance of bonds for a plow truck and a Kubota tractor and one roller compactor as well. And so, Bill asked me to drive those for the crew just to make sure they're safe, so I'm willing to do it.
You did great.
And so, but it was a very interesting presentation on the bond market. Again, these meetings are always open to the public. Our next meeting will be on March 19th, right here at 8:30 a.m.
Thank you, Nate. Public Safety. Chris?
Thanks, Bill. We had our Public Safety Committee meeting yesterday at 0800 hours, and despite the change of the clocks, I was able to arrive close to the starting time. But we had reports from the various services. Brighton Ambulance had 745 calls for service in February and served 299 Brighton residents. They also responded to 82 mutual aid requests from other areas outside of Brighton and had to request only once help with our own coverage. Total call volume for February, 745 calls this past month was up 6.555% over last year's. Brighton Fire Department had 146 calls to date. No significant calls, but their OSHA training continues to go well. And they've responded to the Brighton PTSA for an auction item, which is a ride to school on a fire truck. So that should be fun. So Nate,
Can I drive or?
put you on the ladder. There was a discussion of the bridge replacement on French Road and the proper detours that would best serve the fire department's interest, and that's still a matter under discussion. And Mr. Hafner is in discussion with the county, I believe.
Yeah, and actually, I can give an update on that because
good.
Bill and I spoke today, and Bill spoke with the engineer on the project, Rick Pappage. If you're familiar with that bridge, and it's more of a culvert than a bridge, so you can drive down French Road and really not focus on the fact that you're going over it, but it is immediately after you get on French Road at Winton Road. The road bends, takes a sort of a 90-degree bend south, and the bridge culvert is right there. The reason they had the traffic going out towards Winton Road, the detour is a circle that takes you Winton and then across Westfall, down Edgewood, and around French Road. So the traffic around that circle will be going in a clockwise direction. And the reason they've done it that way is they were concerned because the bridge will be down to one lane, and with the volume of traffic at peak times, that traffic might back up on French Road out into Winton Road. And of course, the diverging diamond is right there as well. And you've got several traffic signals. There's already some traffic challenges there at that location. So that was the thinking in terms of having the traffic go in the direction that it does. And while we certainly want to facilitate response times from our, from all of our first responders, but they are particularly the police and ambulance, and fire and ambulance rather, because they're both located right there along Winton Road. turning the traffic in the other direction would risk backups onto Winton and into the diverging Diamond. So it is his recommendation to keep the detour in the direction that it is. And thanks, Bill, for taking the time to
Absolutely.
reach out and have
that
that.
office park too, which is right.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
There,
And if it was, the traffic was coming in, that park would dump, right on to the bridge there. That
Yeah.
would
yeah.
have-
So the lot of factors that led to that decision.
Thanks for that update, Bill.
You're welcome.
That bill especially.
The police department reported that they've had 6,835 calls year-to-date through the end of February, and the chief promoted that the community come out and cheer on Captain Caballo, who has basketball in his family, I understand. Just
not the Point guard.
That's right.
Hoops and Heroes on the 21st between 6 and 7:30. Henrietta Fire District said that they responded to calls in West Brighton through the end of February, 136. They did have a serious motor vehicle accident in West Brighton on the 21st of February at West Henrietta and Furlong, and which they had to handle along with a very serious structure fire in their Henrietta district, to which our Brighton Fire Department responded as well. They mentioned also a new retiree in their department, and that they started a new career fire academy class of 20 students as well. But these students will be from Henrietta, Gates, North Greece Lakeshore, Rochester Airport, Canandaigua, Geneva, and Victor. They all train out in Henrietta as well. It's a very impressive facility out there. We also had a discussion of a resident request regarding stop signs in Meridian Center at the entrance to Summit, the Summit facility there in the Jewish home. And also we discussed the Rich's Dugway, which is a very narrow roadway along the park there, and whether or not other signs should be placed there as well. Also, board member Wilt indicates that she'll be looking at the Net Zero grant program and reporting at the next meeting. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 8th at 0800 hours.
Thank you, Chris. And Public Works, Christine.
Public Works followed on the heels bright and early, followed on the heels of Public Safety. Some highlights from the not as long as usual Public Works Committee meeting include a discussion of Chelmsford Road safety issues. Residents have asked that the town take a look at some traffic calming options between South Winton and the Chelmsford Lane exit out to Elmwood. Those include the temporary speed bump installation, possible formation of a sidewalk district, and possible formation of a lighting district. So the residents have some things to consider going forward. We had an update from GCI Eastwater Energy Storage on their project, their proposed project in West Brighton, giving us a little more insight into the change in DEC regulations as of the first of this year and how they will work around wetlands and the other information in consideration of an incentive zoning application. I don't know if you want to add anything further, Supervisor.
No, it was a great discussion.
Very informative. We reviewed the requests for new crosswalks. The Public Works team have developed an excellent rubric for determining whether or not requested crosswalks in the community are viable. And at this point, it's been determined that, and Bill, keep me honest here, let me be sure I've got my list right, that Highland Avenue at Council Rock, Highland Avenue at Pelham Road, Highland Avenue at Grosvenor, South Clinton at McQuaid-ish, and Edgewood Avenue at Wintergreen Way all meet the criteria.
Correct.
Did I get those right? Excellent. Of those, South Clinton and Edgewood are on county roads, and we're working with the county DOT to determine when they'll be installed. And I think the first one that should show up will be Edgewood at Winter Greenway.
Yes, that should be by mid-June.
Excellent. Just for the tail end of the school year, but that'll make a lot of kids walking and biking to school happy, and a lot of parents relieved. I saw the kids biking to school today in the frigid weather. These kids are intrepid, so that's good. We had an update from a Brightonian who is proposing the installation of Hometown Heroes banners for military service members in Brighton. We're getting closer to being able to launch that program along Elmwood Avenue. We have a few more details to iron out there. Town Hall renovation, we understand, is clicking along according to plan. The upstairs asbestos abatement is complete, and the other services are starting to move in up there to progress with work, and the downstairs abatement is now underway. So, and contractors, we're grateful to Temple-Brith Kodish for allowing our contractors to park in their parking lot way at the back as more and more of the services come in to continue working. So great partnership, and we're really grateful for that. Other things of note, the Multiversity Trail Project report is complete, and there will be a presentation to the community and the board, we anticipate, at the next town board meeting. So if you're eager to find out more about what the potential for trails connecting the three major educational institutions in town might look like, show up on, March 26th. And then those are the highlights. Next meeting is April 8th at 9 a.m.
Thank
Right
you.
here.
Thank you, Christine. We have no old business, new business. Nate, reading and approval of claims.
Yes, Bill, earlier today I reviewed claims totaling $10,951,996.73. And if you're saying, geez, Nate, that sounds high, it is, but let me tell you why. Some notable claims include collection and payments out to our fire districts. So that's the Brighton Fire District and the Henrietta Fire District. Those guys do great work, and worth the investment, I'd say. And a payment to the Brighton Volunteer Ambulance as well. All the payments appear to be in order, and I move for them to be approved.
Second?
Discussion? You have the claims in front of you. If there's no further discussion, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Robin, why don't you do the next one?
Certainly. The next matter seeks to amend the non-represented employee salary and wage schedule and amend the authorized table of organization in the Finance Department. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And that amendment, and we will be talking about filling that position later in executive session. If there's no further discussion, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. I'm going to go back to you, Nate, for another finance-related one.
You got it. The next matter seeks to authorize the 2024 budget transfers and appropriations and the 2025 budget reappropriations for approved grants and other projects not yet completed. I move that we approve this matter as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
This is something we do every year. There are always expenditures from grants and the like that don't get expended during the year and are essentially rolled over into the 2025 year, the 2025 budget. And this simply reflects that we are doing that this year. Earl, how'd I do? You want to add anything more to that?
Very good. The only thing I'd add is the other half of that just moves some budget amounts between classifications for 2024 for state law, and it's hard to anticipate everything that's going to happen during the year, so we usually have some of those adjustments at the end of the year.
Several pages worth. Any further discussion? We have a motion. It's been seconded. Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer.
Aye. Christine?
The next matter seeks to authorize us to accept a donation from the Board of Trustees for the Jack G. Lubell Foundation Incorporated to support the Town of Brighton Senior Citizens Group in the amount of $800. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
The Lubell Foundation has generously supported senior activities in Brighton for many years. We thank you very much, and we gratefully accept your donation. Dan, if there's nothing further, Dan, please call the roll on the motion.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer.
Aye. Christine, why don't you do the next one as well?
Happily. The next matter seeks to authorize the issuance of request for proposals for an engineering study, including design, construction recommendations, and bid package preparation for a section of the Allens Creek sanitary sewer. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is a significant sewer project. What we're talking about tonight is only soliciting requests for proposals for an engineering study. It's technically not even something we have to do. We don't, town board action is not required to issue requests for proposals. But over the years, because we take our commitment to transparency and open government so seriously, we take action on many of these significant requests for proposals so that the community will know what projects we're looking at, and also so that we will be able to continue to plan ahead from a budgetary perspective. So this is a significant sanitary sewer project that we've been looking at. It's been in our capital improvement plan, and this request for proposals will help us develop designs and put us in a position to bid out the work with some assistance from the town of Pittsford, although most of this project is in the town of Brighton.
Correct.
How'd I do?
Nailed it.
Okay. Further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer.
Aye. The next matter, Chris.
The next matter, Bill, is to authorize the issuance of bonds for the purchase of one plow truck, one Kubota tractor, and one roller compactor in a total amount not to exceed $500,000. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This was as noted by Member Salzman, as discussed at the Finance Committee.
And a bond resolution prepared by our bond counsel, which now is no longer called Harris Beach. They are called Harris Beach and something else, but
Mertha.
Mertha. I thought it was Mertha, but I wasn't 100% positive. Harris Beach and Mertha. And this is, as we generally do, we generally bond and plan to bond these equipment purchases each year, looking at a total bond issue on these generally less than $1 million, and this year significantly less than $1 million. So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Further discussion on this? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer.
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, just a couple of quick things. Robin reminded everybody about the Brickyard Trail art exhibit. The first weekend was great. And the Friends of the Brickyard Trail who put it on, specifically Peggy Dempsey, who leads the way and was the founder of the Friends of the Brickyard Trail. But Anya Michash, who has been a big help in doing this, Michael Hager, and Rich Dempsey also are all involved in doing the legwork and laying out where the art is going to be done, and so much work. So if you missed it last weekend, you got 2 more weekends to enjoy it over at the Buckland House. I do want to wish members of the Jewish community who will be celebrating Purim beginning tomorrow night at sundown, a Chag Purim Sameach. I also want to honor the observance of the holy month of Ramadan by members of our Muslim community, and I look forward to joining members of the community at iftar dinners, breaking the Ramadan fast in the coming days. Ramadan Mubarak to the members of the Islamic community. Matters of the attorney to the town.
Nothing to report, but I would request executive session for 3 matters leading to the appointment of particular persons.
Thank you. We will do that. Matters of the town clerk.
Nothing this evening.
Matters of the town board. Thank you again to our ASL interpreters. We appreciate your work. Can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of particular people?
Bill, I move that we go into executive session to discuss the employment of particular people.
Second?
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. I don't expect we will be coming out into open session after the executive session. So the next meeting of the town board will be 2 weeks from tonight, March 26th. As you heard, we will be getting an update presentation on the study for the multiversity trail and the State of the Town message. I will be delivering the State of the Town message that evening. Thank you. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks.